I've been a big fan of Jimmy Corsetti's Bright Insight uh, channel for many, many years. It started off with Graham Hancock, and Jimmy kind of came out of nowhere. I think back in 2015 was when I first started watching his content, and always looking forward to what he was uh, posting. Um, and I just watched this new video that he posted called "You Won't Believe This Disturbing Gobekli Tepe Update." And I just have to say, Jimmy, you are like right there. You almost figured it out. And I want to go through the video and explain maybe something that he's not considering or certain questions that he's not asking. And it took me a while to figure this out, and I could be completely wrong. I don't want to make it seem like I know everything because I don't. Um, but I think a lot of people who are interested in the truth are missing one main key ingredient, and that is actually the background of um, my video. Uh, and I was considering making a playlist explaining this to people, but we'll go into it. I don't want to give too much too early, but let's go ahead and watch some of what Jimmy's pointing out here because I believe this is extremely interesting and extremely important. So, um, Jimmy goes into discussing um, his interest in Gobekli Tepe, which has gone many years. If you've watched any of his videos, you know that he's reported on it. Same with Graham Hancock and other archaeologists or journalists who report on new findings in archaeology, especially when it involves ancient um, civilizations. But there is something kind of nefarious that he's hinting at, um, which he kind of gets into later on in the video. Okay, so there's interest that was piqued in with Gobekli Tepe out of a series of interviews, some with Joe Rogan, um, and it all sort of seems like it's kind of sprung up around the same time when they discovered Gobekli Tepe, um, and uh, Jimmy goes on to talk about uh, the halting of excavation that kind of occurred recently, um, and the reason for that doesn't seem quite clear at first. So only 5% of the site has been excavated, right? So this is kind of an issue, and the question is why? Why is only 5% of the site excavated? And this was, I guess, from back in 2015 when they reported 5%. But if you look at it today, actually, I'm gonna let Jimmy do the talking with regards to that. Where is it?
How is it possible that no measurable advances to this dig have been made? I mean, excavations began 29 years ago, nearly a third of a century. So why are we still at 5%, and what is the holdup? And this is where things start to get bizarre. While
Yeah, so I think that is a very valid question to ask, and there are reasons. There are reasons why we are not allowed to know about our past, um, and it might not be quite obvious, because why does anybody care? I think I got something on my lip. Why does anybody care necessarily about our past? Like we have an interest in it, I guess, almost like a passing hobby, but the majority of people care about putting food on the table, going on vacations, or self-indulgences, right? So their needs, uh, self-indulgences, their wants, um, and being able to provide as a family or whatever, or saving for a later time. Those are where people's interests usually lie. So this hobby of knowing our past or where we came from is really that it's been relegated to kind of an interest as opposed to potentially disrupting the way that we live our lives because this could potentially impact that. And I know it doesn't sound like it, but who is responsible for this? This is really fascinating that Gobekli Tepe has now become a tourist destination. And in the process of becoming a tourist destination, go back or Jimmy, I think he talks about it
most
here.
important part of this video, and something that will surely disturb all of us. As was described in their agenda, the first steps involved in the 20-year partnership was setting up the infrastructure for tourism and preservation, which included protective roofs in order to prevent weather and the elements from affecting this now exposed site. However, notice that the very foundation and support beams of this roof is comprised of, what it's comprised of is literally stabbing into the ruins itself. But more than that, notice in these various images, including different angles around the site, clearly show that the permanent viewing platform is not only obstructing the view of different parts of the site, which is a bit ironic, but more importantly, it is quite literally impeding the site from being fully excavated, as it's sitting directly on top of portions of the site that have not yet been dug. In fact, observe.
Okay, so this is really critical to what I'm going to say in a few minutes. Um, he also points out a couple of other things. I think he speaks about it right here.
When exactly were these two orchards of trees, which are located in the midst of ruins of Gobekli Tepe, when were they planted? Because I found an aerial photograph from 2004, and as you can see, these two sets of orchards were not there at this time as compared to a more recent photo. Do any ancient ruins lie underneath?
So the orchards, and then he speaks about roads as well, and I'm going to really hammer this point home. So let's watch this.
They call it a road, I call it destruction, or the other way around. And went on to say that.
Okay, I think that's enough of Jimmy's video. I'm going to link it in the description so you guys can go watch it in its entirety. It's a great video. Um, let's start with roads. Okay, roads have traditionally been used uh, as a form of infrastructure to kind of stabilize a place after there's some chaos that was uh, ensued in that area. So war, for example. And what you would use is you would use the bodies because of the bones to help build the roads. There is a saying that all roads lead to Rome, and that is true. This it is absolutely true, and this road is a symbol of that. This road is being used to stabilize the chaos that would ensue if this information was to get let out. But what it also does is it prevents any further excavation in this area because it's an established place now with an orchard and with a tourist canopy that's built on top, literally on top of um, all of the potential evidence of an earlier civilization than what we're familiar with. This is really fascinating because the people who authorized this, who are they? What gave them their authority to do that? Um, he speaks on a uh, a Turkish man. Where is it? There's a this the jurisdiction is in Turkey. Okay, so this sits in the country of Turkey, and the person who is responsible for authorizing the construction of the roads and the orchards and everything is this Turkish billionaire. Why is this important? It's important because you have people who are making decisions on your behalf. Uh, but what gives this man authority besides his made up money, his billions of dollars, which is basically um, a form of control, right? The money is a form of control, and we're not going to get into that in this video, but it's made up. It's an illusion. It's something that we all agree upon, which is money, and that money is giving this person authority to tell you what the truth is and what the truth isn't, or restrict you from knowing what the truth is. It's fascinating, right? It's like we're all playing in this game, but we forget that it's a game. That there's a reality, and then there's our interactions within our society, within the global order, that we forget that we're all actually just, um, trying to live our lives. But what that is it's actually the matrix. So we live in a matrix, and being part of the matrix, there are rules that are set up in this matrix. If you exit the matrix, then you are living outside of those rules. You're lawless. You're what the Romans would call a barbarian, um, somebody who doesn't adhere to the rule of law. But the rule of law is essentially to keep the masses ignorant and dumb and enslaved. Okay, so here is what I think Jimmy needs to look into a little bit more. Um, The reason why this person has authority over this area, where he is granted that authority through the World Economic Forum, which is a governance body who governs internationally using international law, uh, can dictate what a country, and you need to define that word country, what they can do in terms of the release and publication of information that could potentially steer the course of humanity in a different direction. Okay, so who sets these laws? Where did these laws come from? And further, what is a country? If you buy into this entire narrative, which is part of the matrix, if your brain is locked in that way of thinking, which is very difficult to break from that, the question of what is a country becomes extremely important. Because if a country is a territory, who defines the territory? If it's a political body or political governing body, who governs the political governing body? Who recognizes that? On a global level, you have to have a global recognition of a country's existence. This is why some people don't view Palestine as a country or Israel as a country, and you have these conflicts in that area. But what is a country? And who dictates or designates a country or validates its existence? If you take a step back and realize that countries are fake, I know this sounds kind of crazy, but take a step back and just imagine this for a second. That countries are fake. This is an exercise because I know a lot of you have served in the military, and to say something like that would seem a little blasphemous. So, if a country is fake, what that would then tell you is that the rule within a region to affect, change the territory, whatever, now resides in the people who rule in that area. It's not a country necessarily, it's whoever rules a territory. And those people can be conquered, they could be genocided. They could flourish, they could prosper. And then you can have one region or a region which is controlled by a group of people, almost like a pack of wolves, for example, uh, governing their territory. They could do that and then have agreements, contracts with other territories, and those other territories would have a reason to agree with that contract, and they might do trading, essentially. They might do other things. They might have alliances against foreign aggressors or aggressors from other parts of or other territories. We colloquially call it countries now, but what was the first country? And why is this even significant to mention this to begin with? It's because the um, the 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 justification for the restriction of this information is because a country doesn't want people to have access to this. But that information pre-existed that country. I don't know if that makes sense, but like you taking it outside of um, the current frame of reference that you have with your worldview, you might see it that way. So how does this person have any authority over something that existed I don't want to say hundreds of thousands of years, but like thousands of years before his existence, before his country's existence? It's all fake. It's all Mickey Mouse. So a country um, is a is not a governing territory. It's a globally recognized uh, political entity or territory, or a combination of the two. So the key here is that it's globally recognized. But the global aspect to that is the rules and the laws that were passed down from Rome. So there is a central authority all around the world, but we believe that individual countries have autonomy, and that's not true. The reason why Turkey is restricting archaeological research of Gobekli Tepe is because Rome still exists. That's why.